Today's coffee morning is all about results. Well, a trophy, to be precise. Over the weekend, Lewis Hamilton took pole position in the Formula One and then went on to become first and then received this whacking great big trophy. The thing is that we're different. You're different. Other people focus upon the result, the trophy. But we're smart and we focus on the small parts that are needed to be able to have a chance at winning the trophy. Is a brake pad or even a bolt less important than the driver? Of course not. If just one of these things fell, and there are tens of thousands of these small parts in a racing car that could fail, this could mean the difference between finishing and stoving the car into a wall. It's all about the small things, and while today's coffee morning uses the backdrop of Lewis Hamilton's win in Formula One, this really does relate to you and your business because the small things matter.
Now, if you missed us, you can join us live for free every Tuesday using the following link. It's understandinge.com/coffee-morning. It's held at 10 a.m. GMT, and all that you need is a headset or speakers to be able to join in.
And with that said, let's dive in and do this. Let's get into the meat of today. Now, this is going to be pretty fast, okay? And I need to get the slide deck notes up on a different screen so I know where we are. Okay, so I'm a little bit of a Formula One fan, and for those of you which didn't watch the Formula One, that bloke there on the left is called a chap called Lewis Hamilton. He came number one. He won the race over in China, and that's his trophy. So focus on that trophy for a few moments. It's fantastic looking, and again, he's one happy chappy. Okay, on the right-hand side, we've got at last he's got a good car, and that's the whole point here, is that he's got a good car, but he's also got a good team. Those people in the middle of the screen, okay, this is what today's topic's about. It's not just about the trophy. It's not about wandering across the line and just being first across the line. And this whole thing of winning it's not just done by accident. He didn't just turn up, jump in a really fast car, and then beat some other people who also turned up to spin around. It was actually the outcome of a shed load of work by an awful lot of people. And that's the kind of point which we want to make today, is that that trophy is only the outcome. And that brings us nicely on to the actual trophy itself. Now, most people only ever focus about the trophy. So they look at somebody who is successful. They look at somebody who is a millionaire. They look at the outcome, and they only ever focus on the outcome. And this is where we're not like other people. We're special because we're business owners. We look at the world fundamentally different from somebody else. And yes, of course, we would like to be holding that trophy or a handful of cash and getting lots of sales and things like that. But we know, and this is the thing, is that we're smart people. We know that we're different, and we look at the world differently as well. And we know that we need to do lots and lots of stuff to get to that result. But the other thing which we know is that we know it takes a lot of work, maybe a little bit of luck, although I personally argue that luck is self-made through hard work, but that's a slightly different topic. But that trophy and Lewis winning that trophy did not happen by accident. A lot of work was put in to make it happen. Now, we've got a note in here, and again, someone's managed to stove their car. Okay, so did Lewis win by accident? Of course he did. He didn't turn up in the car and then go for a spin and then spray a couple of mates with a bottle of champagne at the end. That's just not how this happens. And the thing is that over time, and again, this is the point, it takes time. So Lewis began karting back at the age of 8 back in 1993. His racing career started in 2001 when he started in the Formula Renault Winter League. And then because he had success, because he turned up in the smaller leagues. He got to the bigger leagues. So he went from Formula 3 to Formula Renault in 2006. And then he moved to GP2, winning the championship on his first attempt. Now, that, yeah, he had some skills. That's not a lot. He's a very gifted driver. But he just doesn't turn up and just jump in a Formula 1 car and spin round and get a trophy at the end. He's been doing this since he was the age of 8. To do this stuff kind of takes time. And then he joined the McLaren Formula 1 team in 2007. Then, like the rest of it's mustard. He then, when he was in his first year, he won the championship. He struggled. He mixed things up. He was very loyal to the McLaren Formula 1 team, but something wasn't right. And then he switched to Mercedes. And boy, did he get the timing right on Mercedes. Unreal results.
There's an interesting book as well, Matt, by a chap called Malcolm Gladwell, called Outliers. And that basically makes the point that in order to master anything, you need to spend 10,000 hours. That's the peak. As soon as you pass 10,000 hours, you are deemed to have mastered whatever it is that you're doing. And I think that, you know, at the age of 8, he was driving at the age of 8, and now he's, 25, 26? How many hours do you think he's been putting in driving? It's a fair few over those past 10 years, 25 years.
Exactly. Now, Lewis is that he's just one part of the whole. So that him winning that trophy at the end of the Grand Prix, that Lewis, yeah, he's an important part to it, but he's no less important than what you would say a brake pad or a tyre is to the actual win. The trophy is the result. The result is the trophy at the end. Now, you could argue that the driver is just as important as a brake pad, but if you take either one of those things away, then the car's not going to go anywhere. It's not going to stop. So the thing is that the driver is only one key part of that. I'm only one part of understanding E. Dave's only one part of that now as well. We're a team and we work together, and it's this. A Formula 1 car is like made up of like 50,000 individual parts, probably even more on there. And it's the combination of everything working together in harmony. It's the reliability of the parts. So Lewis doesn't go off on a bender and get completely drunk and turn up with a hangover, just one example. Or it's not one of the brake pads failing out early. It's not something like an electrical connection in there. It's about the weight. It's about cost. Again, if something costs £2 million to build a tiny little part, then it's going to be restrictive. And again, that then brings us on to being able to have spares, and also the time it takes to get those parts to the actual car as well. It's this whole package. And I think if any of you have been watching the Formula 1, the one thing in which we saw at the end of last season and very much at the beginning of this season with the different drivers is that David Coulthard used this word so many times. It's the complete package of the car and the driver. And the driver driver's only really just one tiny little opinion in the things. It's the backing, it's its history, it's his performance as a whole, which then gets us to the trophy at the end. It's no longer just about one piece. And then, of course, that brings us nicely onto the team. This isn't just this one bloke which just turns up and falls over the line at the end. It's a massive team effort. And again, we've got the Lotus team here on the left-hand side, and those people go way off the screen on that. And we're probably not even seeing the people which are in the factories behind. We're not seeing the subcontractors which are there, which are making specific parts for the cars. So now, like Pirelli in there. Dude, where are they? The tyres are just so important to this, and we don't have the Pirelli team showing up in there. And I just need to check my Skype. And sorry about that. It's the whole team effort, and again, we've got say 100 people. Yeah, well, to say 150 people shown on our screen right now. The reality is that there's literally teams of thousands sat behind here when we start looking at the bigger picture. Now, that also brings us on to the topic of failure. Failure is just one part of getting to the trophy. So if one part in that racing car fails, the driver, the tyre, the back spoiler, maybe the front spoiler, an engine cog, a light, for example, the steering wheel, if any one of those parts, even the microscopic little parts which are in there, if they fail, then that could equal failure. Now, the thing is about failure, it is to be expected. Okay, so we're going to make screw-ups as we go along. And for me, I see failure as actually a huge positive, personally, is because if I fail at something, it actually meant that I turned up and tried. Okay, like the biggest failure you could ever make is not turn up and do something. Okay, so failure is to be expected. Expect to piss off the customer. Expect to annoy a supplier. Expect to annoy eBay. Whatever on it. It doesn't matter. Failure is just one part. And the thing is it's to be expected and also to be welcomed in there. It's just part of the learning process. It's part of winning and getting to the result at the end. And of course, that then means, what does that kind of like mean for us? Okay, now that's the Williams factory. Okay, so they've got a massive site on there. That kind of just didn't happen overnight. There was lots of thought, there was lots of effort and lots of attention put into getting the final result. And that kind of gets to our point, which is that think about your business as being that racing car. And this is kind of key, is that you're just one part of your business. Okay, as much as you would like to say that you're a massive part to it, you're only just one part of that business. It's all the small things brought together which gets you the win. So like we've said this all the way through, Lewis just didn't turn up and jump in a racing car and win. That's just not how it went down. It took hundreds, if not thousands of hours, and that kind of number of people as well to get the final result. And again, other people, not us, we're smart. Other people look at the trophy and go, wow, lucky guy. That's absolute, insert your favorite word there. That's just not how it goes down. It's always this combination of lots of small things put together. And again, if you can do the small things really, really well, then that's what's going to get you to the result. Now, I've mentioned that this small thing, so that is just one cog, okay? And it's in this presentation package, so it's being framed in acrylic. And if you can do that with the one small part, again, it could just be putting a item specific onto eBay, for example, for MPN, so the manufacturer part number. If you did that for all your products, then that's one small part. And again, do it right. Be proud of the small things which are in there. Just like each cog, each nut, each bolt is important as the next nut or bolt in the system. Again, if that's Lewis Hamilton holding the trophy, but he's only just one part. Every small little part is right. Get the item specifics right. Get the titles right. Go the extra mile on the images. Use bullet points and use features and benefits in them. Get the team right, just like what me and Dave are doing right now. We're getting the team right. We've realised, we're just putting our hands up going, Christ, that's a lot of work on here. It's time that we build this team out. And we expect to make mistakes all the way along. And then again, failure is just one part of this. We think we've hired right, but we don't know. Time will tell. And again, we probably need to build the team out even more as time goes on. Just get up earlier and do more so you can do the more little things right. And that kind of brings us on to the summary. Now, I did say this morning was going to be really quick, and we're 20 minutes in, okay, which is that Lewis Hamilton, so in summary, Lewis Hamilton, he took the trophy at the end, but that was just the result. And other people focus upon the trophy, but you're smarter than that. We're smarter, and you are smarter than that. Let other people look up and go, wow, he's or she's successful. But the thing is that didn't happen by accident. In fact, it was probably like a squillion accidents. So think about Lewis. How many times do you think he's been stowed the Formula One car, a GP2, Formula 3, and a go-kart? How many times do you think he spun off the track and made his mistake? Do you think he just jumped back in the car if he could, if he's not completely totaled it and got going again? The thing is that accidents happen, failures should be expected, and you need experience. And the thing is that just takes time. Me and Dave, we've just learned loads. We pushed out this 60 tutorial training course in, say, 5 weeks. Okay, that took us more than 4 months when we first started. And we're getting better. We're not perfect by a million miles. There's so much stuff which we could do better. But it's just experience. Just turn up and do it. That's the biggest thing. The racing car is made up of something like 50,000 parts, and the driver, you, are just one part of that car. It is the whole package in there, and just realize you're one component of it. You're a pretty important part of that car, or the business, should I say? But you're just still one part of it. And again, it's all about spit my words out. There's hundreds of people which work in those teams, if not thousands. Okay. Again, you could just be a one-person team. That's okay. Right now, you're just a team of one. And that's all right. That works. There are squillions of very successful businesses which are just teams of one. But sometimes you've got to put your hands up, just like me and Dave did, and go, actually, we need help. Let's go and bring in some outside resources. If one part fails, the whole race could be off. So if a brake pad fails, then you're going to go spinning off the racetrack and you're going to end up trashing the car. And that happens in business all the time. If one key part of it, so if your email fails, for example, then that's going to put you at a disadvantage. But the thing is, failures are to be expected. The thing is to just pick yourself up, brush yourself down and go, oops, and just get in there again. You're only as good as the sum as your parts. And the one thing this morning is that just focus on the little things. There's little small things, the tiny little cogs, which are parts of your business. So that could be something as simple as like the item specific, which I mentioned a few moments ago. It could be your email footer. So every time you reply to a customer via your normal email, is whether you've got a nice email footer. Just focus on the tiny, small things. And again, these little small things which you could do are just that. They're small. They're all like really quick wins. They're like mini trophies of their own. And the thing is that when you take all these different pieces of a puzzle together, that should add up to the trophy at the end. And that kind of leaves us with more of one question for you. So when you leave this meeting in a couple of minutes of time, what one little thing could you do better today? Well, what could you do? Is there something which you know that if you spent just 5 minutes doing, what could you do? And are you going to do it? That's the big one. And that was kind of our point this morning, which is that a lot of other people focus upon the trophy. They just look at the success and they don't kind of understand or realize what it actually takes to get there. And the reality is it's about getting those 50,000 parts to work. And again, thankfully, we're not in the racing car business and we don't have 50,000 things to do. We have you could probably drill it down to maybe 100 things, something like that. What one of those tiny little things could you do today, which would take you 5 minutes to do? Would it be like an email footer? Could you get a better image on your top selling item? Maybe your email footer. What one thing could you do to make your business better today? And again, just remember, it's all about the small things which we've got in there.
And if you spent 5 or 10 minutes every day, maybe in your lunch hour, or just think how much of that does that add up in a week, in 2 weeks, in a month? You can make a lot of difference just by doing the small things a little bit at a time. It's the whole moving the mountain analogy. One rock at a time.
Yeah, or eating an elephant, spoon, and a really big barbecue. But it's all about the small things, and it's just getting those right. So it's just getting up a little bit earlier, going to bed a little bit later and just focusing on the small things. And again, these things just don't happen overnight. They just take time. And if you can get the small things right, then it will add up to the big trophy at the end. So I'm going to tell you what, does anybody have any questions from what we've kind of discussed this morning at all? If you do, let us know in the chat box on the left-hand side. Dell, bed, what's that? Exactly, yeah. So I've been up since 5:45 this morning. Again, when I woke up this morning, I didn't know that what I was going to be doing for this, but I knew whatever I was going to do, I needed it to be brilliant. And all it was just a collection of lots of little things. In fact, it was a collection of a plan, which we worked to, and then some images, and then the rest of it kind of just gelled together. And the thing is that I turned up, it's not perhaps the best which I could have ever done, but the thing is that it was pretty damn close on there. Okay, so let's leave it there this morning. Like we mentioned, we know that you're on a time scale this morning. We just want to try and keep it to 30 minutes this morning. And we hope, and I sincerely hope, that we've been giving you some motivation to go and do the small stuff. The small stuff really, really does matter in your business. And again, if you're doing the small stuff, your competitors, they're thinking about the big stuff. They're just thinking about the trophy. But together, we're smart. We're thinking about how do we get to the trophy? Not looking at the trophy. We're thinking about all the little small things together. So I'm just going to leave you with an open question right now. What one thing could you do better today? What tiny little small thing you could do just to make a difference in your business? So that is enough from me this morning. Thank you, everybody who's been and joined us. And I'm going to wrap it up now, just to leave you on that thought. So before you go, Adrienne, thank you for joining us. Andre, Andrew, Dell, David, Debbie, Fitio, Gary, another Gary, Howard, James, Kirsty, Marco, Matt, Michael, Paul, and another Paul. What's in these threes this morning? Sam, Steve, and Stephen, thank you for joining us this morning. We really, really do appreciate it. And like I said, what one thing could you do this morning, which is absolutely tiny, but it's just one tiny little cog. It's one brake pad in your business. So let's leave it there. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next Tuesday. Cheerios.